Hi everyone, and a big welcome to the Living with SMA podcast. We talk about all things spinal muscular atrophy related, but topics discussed are not exclusively for individuals with SMA, so there should be something here for everyone. We also do things differently. For starters, our charity SMA UK uses different hosts, and everyone involved gets a final say in the creative process of making these episodes. We cut through the jargon, and the content is accessible for everyone. All the stories are individual, and we are committed to sharing as many different perspectives as we can for our listeners. So if you're listening to this and have a burning desire to talk about a particular subject, then please reach out to us on our social media channels or send us a quick email. And remember, no topic is off the table. If there is something the SMA community wants to talk about, this is the place. We really hope you enjoy the podcast, and please do connect with our charity and share your comments online and let us know what you think. From all the team at SMA UK, thank you for listening.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Living with SMA podcast. We have got a great episode planned for you today. As always, I'm going to be joined by some really cool guests. So I think before I introduce my guests, I'll just give you a quick little brief of what today's podcast is going to be about. We're going to be talking all about social media today, and we're going to be looking at the pros and cons and how it can actually be a real job opportunity for people. It can definitely lead to a career, and it can be a really handy tool for a lot of people. So that's the aim of today's podcast. We'll start off with introductions. I might as well kick things off whilst I'm talking. It's hard to get me to stop talking sometimes. So my name is Ross Lannon. I am 29 years old, I believe. I'm a lifestyle and disability blogger. I run a blog called A Life on Wheels. I have SMA myself, and I'm from Cornwall. So I'm going to hand over now to Maxwell. If you can introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Maxwell. I'm 18 years old. I have spinal muscular atrophy type 2, and I'm a current student at Anglia-Ruskin University, studying business management. So yeah.
Fantastic. And Sandie?
I am Sandie Roberts, and I am 52 tomorrow.
Yay.
Happy birthday to me. I live in the Cotswolds, and I am a disability advocate and part-time model and full-time content creator. That's what I do.
Fantastic. So as I said at the start of this episode, we're going to be focusing today on social media. I think we all come at this from a different angle of advocacy and content creation, blogging. So I think between the three of us, I think we cover quite a range of online content. So let's strip it right back to the very beginning. Maxwell, if I can start with you. I hear you're a bit of an up and coming content creator yourself. I've heard the word entrepreneur being thrown around.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little bit of information about what made you interested in online creation?
Yeah, so in 2019, I just finished my GCSEs, and it was kind of that period where everyone was starting to get jobs. And as someone who's disabled, it was quite hard for me to get a job at the time because everyone was kind of going into quite manual laboury jobs like at Tesco's and stuff like that. So I took the opportunity to put my business head on and make a business called Digital Horizon Views, which is a drone business. And I kind of did it just to kind of create a little bit of money for myself while I was studying A levels, and kind of get into the business world at the same time. So I kind of took that opportunity, and it worked out quite well. I had quite a lot of customers. So that's where I kind of first started getting into social media. Yeah.
Fantastic. And it's really interesting to see how people sort of go down the route of social media, isn't it? I think we all have social media as a social platform anyway, but it's that changing it into a business or a career, that's where the sort of interesting topic comes in. Sandie, sort of, yeah,
Where do you
similar to
pivot?
you, like what made you um invest time and effort into a career in social media?
I think a little bit like Maxwell, actually. I think it comes from partly from need because there are limited options. I'm a full time, I didn't sort of say that in my intro, I'm a full time wheelchair user. Um, and I have a lot of health issues that restrict me from being able to join the workforce in the way that lots of non disabled people can. And when you have those restrictions, you kind of have to be creative with how you can make money. And then also, aside from that, I think when you are disabled, you have a different outlook on life. You really want to do something that is fulfilling and that makes you happy because sometimes life is very, very challenging. Not sometimes,
Yeah,
most of the time. Most of the time, when you're disabled, life is challenging. I'm not going to, pussyfoot around it. It is. So when we can drive something for ourselves, which is our career, I think we want to do something that makes us fulfilled and happy. And when those things kind of come together and you go, okay, I seem to be good at this. I seem to be, it's almost effortless in some ways because if it's hard, I don't think you're going to be naturally drawn to do it because there are some people hate social media. And if you hate social media, it's probably not going to be something you're going to want to do as a career. I probably wouldn't advise you to look at doing that. But if it's something you kind of enjoy, brings out the creative side of you, then I think that's when that, oh, hang on a second, people make money out of this, so why can't I? And then that's when you kind of like pivot from just using it as a bit of a fun tool into thinking, okay, how do they do it? How can I apply that to myself? And that's when that
I
change
agree. I
happens.
think as well, sort of from another point of view, sort of throwing my experience into that as well. Um, I sort of never really went into social media thinking that it could be a career. It kind of started as a hobby. I think my interest came from blogging and wanting to raise awareness, which comes with the disability world that we're all involved in. I wanted to go at it from
Yeah.
I wanted a fun platform to share aspects of my life, and then from that it became, oh, actually there is opportunities here, which people don't often think about. Is that something that's important to you, Maxwell, with your business and that, when it comes to like disability awareness and social media?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, lately I've started a new account, which is kind of more aimed at awareness and myself and kind of my journey, like posting about my spinal injections and things like that. And that's been really positive. I've noticed like quite a lot of parents whose children have SMA are quite interested in learning and trying to take advice. And like I like kind of posting content and helping and guiding. I've recently started a podcast with Ross Hovey, trying to spread some more awareness and talk about, some interesting topics. So yeah, definitely.
You're telling me you've got a podcast with another Ross? This is like blasphemy to me.
Yeah.
um, Sandie, do you think people take social media as a career seriously? Because I feel like in general, social media, I'm going to do air quotes here, influencers, there's quite a stigma around it, isn't there?
Hmm. I don't think they do to a degree, no. I think there's kind of there's lots of different ways people look down on it, and there's no one way that people will be critical of you having a career in social media. There's a plethora, there's a smorgasbord of it. um, and that's difficult, for sure. For a long time, people didn't seem to take notice of anything that I was doing, because when you start out, you don't seem to get paid at all. You do a lot for free. You do a lot for gifts, um, and that can be really difficult. People then just think you're getting free stuff. That must be great, and they don't see all the work that you're putting
Yeah.
into it. And um, and then there's the other side, just not appreciating the extent of the work that you have to do, even if you are getting paid. From my perspective, what I do, I'm script writer, camera person, editor, makeup artist, costume person, everything, producer, every person. And yet I get paid such a small amount of money. Um, so people don't tend to understand and take the gravity of what it is that you do until you get to a certain point, and then they can be quite surprised. They'll be like, "Oh, well, how did that happen? Like, how are you on the paper, in the paper, or on the TV?" Or when that starts to happen, then they take notice. But I think maybe there's some, partly a generational thing, partly an education thing. Um, because I think that people, certainly of your age, Maxwell, I suspect, they would understand a lot more that, the kind of the fame, I guess, that would come from it, but not necessarily the work side of it that comes from it. Whereas my family, can be quite surprised if I go somewhere and I'm recognised. They're like, "Well, that's a bit. How'd that
No, I
happen?"
think
Kind of
for
thing.
my
Um,
account where I spread awareness, I think people at school, people in my year were quite they liked it and they saw into it. But with my business, they didn't really see it as a real job, quite a lot of them, until I started making money, and then they saw that I was making more money than them doing a quick photo with my drone. So I think, yeah, they definitely didn't really buy into that until I started having results from it. Um, but I definitely think they're quite adopting with the awareness side of it.
Yeah. And I think it's a really fair point you raised there, Sandy, as well, about it's almost like a bit of a generational divide as well. I know I've had experiences with my family and they've, made little comments in the past when it comes to me doing like bits of my blog work. For example, say, you get invited to a restaurant to review their food and their access and things like that. Yes, you might get a free meal out of it, and you get to maybe take your family with you, which that's obviously one of the benefits of it. My family will sit there and they'll be like, "Oh no, like we have to pay. I feel really guilty." I'm like, "This is actually me working though. Like
Mm.
you might think this is just a freebie, but it's actually not. Like I'm coming away from this restaurant now. I'm going to spend hours editing a video, editing pictures, doing a write up, writing a whole post. That's hours of work. So from an outsider's point of view, isn't it? People don't realize what goes into
yeah.
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's just a case of educating them gently. And I know that there's been times when, people have just forgotten that I have a scheduling, that I've got work. No, I might not have an hourly job that I have to go to an office, but I've got schedules, I've got deadlines I have to meet, so I can't just drop everything and go at a moment's notice to here, because I've got deadlines I need to meet. So, it's still a business, and we still have to run it as such, or we won't succeed. It's just the case of it. But and we just it's our family, so we would gently educate. But again, it's like anything, you choose how you educate people.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the pros and cons that come with a career in
Mhm.
social media. Maxwell, what sort of springs to mind from a positive point of view? What are the pros of working online as such?
Well, I think I just love talking to everyone online, to be fair. I think it's a great, like, sharing experiences, getting to know other people. Um, and for me, I get to choose when I do it, and it kind of fits really nicely in between uni work as well, because drop it back if I need to a little bit. If I have assignment due that I haven't been doing, or or something like that. So yeah, I think definitely the flexibility for me, as I'm not going for like a full-time job. It's just part-time when I can, to spread awareness and get freebies and make some money along the way.
Absolutely. It's all about that money, that Maxwell, isn't it? All
Exactly,
about that
yeah.
money. And I think it is a very good point, the flexibility of it. Whilst, yes, there is still a routine and a strict, like you said, Sandie, there is, certain timings and things that need to be done. That flexibility to work from home, I think over the course of the last few years, I think we can all especially appreciate with the pandemic, how it's enabled us to still have a career and earn money from the safety of our home. So yeah, other than sort of community, we love online communities. Sandie, what other positives or pros of social media come to mind for you?
Well, there's a few things, but one of them is in the same theme, that it's an opportunity to spread awareness, to get on my message across to a wide audience. For me, I'm in control of the work that I do. I can choose who I work with and who I don't work with. If I'm sick, I can pull back, like Maxwell said. But specifically working in social media, I find that it keeps my mind really active. It keeps me current. It keeps me really excited about what's going on in the world, because I'm a very creative person. I love to create video. I love photography. I love all of that. I love writing. So there's a lot. I really enjoy the creation process of what I do, and all these new projects, meeting new people, working with brands. I get a lot of satisfaction from being the person that does that, and the connections that you meet, not just in the disability community, but in the wider world. It's just been so fulfilling to be able to do that. I wouldn't have been able to do that in a job where you have to work laterally. This is your role, then you might get promoted to this role, and you might have to then leave to get to another role. It doesn't work like that when you work for yourself. I'm entrepreneurial in spirit anyway. I lectured in that when I was younger, and I 100% believe in that sort of side of things. So I think that we have a lot more control over our destiny when we are work for ourselves in that way. But the social media world in itself moves so fast. That there is a lot of energy that comes from that although it can be detrimental, we'll probably talk about that, can also energize you and keep you feeling like you're part of the world, the wider world, the outside. Sometimes we can't not always engage as a disabled person. We can't always engage in the world that we might want to. But this way we can feel 100% part of social media, just like everybody else. It's something we can fully engage in.
We really can, yeah. And I've met some of my best friends through social media, through the community, and I would never have met them if it wasn't for my work through the blog and things like that, which is really great. And I think for me, one of the biggest pros of it is that media representation. Like you said, you can control what you put out there. So for me, I find it really important that whilst we're honest with what we share, a lot of disability content within the media is very negative. So it's in my interest to have the control to post. Actually, there's a lot of positive that happens as well. So that media representation, sort of diversity within brands, being that role model as such, for many people that, because when we were growing up, there really wasn't many people with disabilities in the media in general, whether that's social media or whether that's TV, radio. There's not been a lot.
Yeah. Well, there still isn't that much. There still really isn't that much, is there? And you're right. I think that's so important, that we can control. It's our voice that's being heard, not someone else's interpretation of what they think that we should be saying. And I think that is, I love that I can choose what I'm saying. And I always talk about being authentic. If I'm having a bad day, I'll make sure people know about it, because it's really essential that we don't dilute down our lives. It's shown, I mean, as long as we're comfortable and feel safe, but we show the truth of our lives, because if we just only show the positive sides, there's going to be people that feel lost and alone at home. This doesn't reflect me. Why am I feeling like this? And it's dangerous. It's dangerous.
So obviously, with all the pros that come with this, there is the obvious negative side of social media. I think we've all dabbled in it, some more than others. Sandie, I feel like as you're the more experienced social media person within us here today, I think, speaking to you briefly already, I know you've had quite a few sort of negative experience when it comes to online safety and things like that. Is there sort of some cons that you're happy to share with us? Like, what is your biggest fear of working in social media?
It's knowing how vulnerable and how open to be. So there's a really fine line between sharing with your audience and being open and honest and vulnerable, but you've got to make sure that you create a safe space for yourself first and foremost, because the outside world, we can't control that. And there are some very horrible people out there, for some unknown reason, who just take so much joy in crushing other people. And we don't know why, and we can't control that. But if we start to create, if we create a social media business, it will be open. We will be putting ourselves out there, and we will be open to attack. So we have to make sure that we pass everything through kind of these gates. Is it true what I'm saying? Do I feel like it's absolutely necessary that somebody's going to benefit from this? And then lastly, is it safe for me to say this? If somebody's going to attack me from that, do I feel like I can stand up for myself about it? And sometimes we might feel like it's okay to make myself feel vulnerable about this, because I know that I can take it. If someone has a go at me about it, I feel strong enough. And sometimes, even though we know that somebody else might benefit from that thing, we might not feel strong enough ourselves to take anything if someone has a go. So just don't share that part. And we don't owe the world anything. That's really important. If that's one thing, if somebody wants to go away from this and they've heard anything I've said and they've decided to go away and try and make a career out of social media, please remember, you don't owe the world anything of yourself. You choose what you put out there. That's the only thing I ever want you to remember from what I've said. And then moving forwards, once you feel safe, there are other things to remember. It can become addictive. You can become addicted to that validation. Do they like what I've said? Do they like what I've written? Do they like how I look in this video? Am I good enough? Am I good enough? And that can be quite insidious in the way that it happens. Maxwell's nodding, because you might think, oh, that would never happen to me. That's not the kind of person I am. I'm not vain. And I'm not vain. But there was a time where I was picking my phone up because I had to pick my phone up and check, has it been looked at? How many views has that had? And it wasn't because I wanted to, it's because I needed to. Because and the reason I knew that was because if I didn't, I felt uncomfortable. It was very strange. So I had to then pull right back and put some measures in place, really strict boundaries, because it's designed to do that. Social media is designed to work on your brain like a drug. It's meant to make you feel good by using it. So we're not doing anything wrong. We're not malfunctioning in any way. It's designed to do that. So we have to be careful how we use it. And then when we're creating that content, and of course, we're getting, hopefully doing successfully, we're getting those people saying, this is wonderful, I love what you've written, you look fantastic in this, or whatever it is that you've done. That can be quite challenging to remain grounded. So being aware of that and putting boundaries in place, setting time limits on how much you check your phone or how much you're on your phone for your social media is something I would suggest as well.
I think there's some really sort of sound advice there. Maxwell, is that something you can relate to as well? Because I think it's fair to say our generation are sort of growing up. We see kids now with mobile phones that, back when I was growing up, we didn't have a phone until a certain age, whereas it seems to be coming into our lives a lot younger now. And when you want to have a career in social media, I suppose the joy of a 9 to 5 office job is that when you come home from work, that's it. You're switched off and your time is your own. Whereas if you want to have a career in social media, it's not a 9 to 5. Is that something that you worry about, Maxwell?
I think it's quite sad actually, because my awareness account that I created, I created it after I left my A levels and went to university, because I was actually quite scared of being bullied at school for what I was posting, and like to open them kind of into my world. It kind of almost made me feel like quite vulnerable, even when I was at home, knowing that they were kind of let into my life, because I did have some problems at school with bullying, but I think that's why I kind of left it to after I left for me to start posting the more intimate stuff, even about my spine operations and stuff like that, so things wouldn't go around school. So that was definitely a worry for me, but now I've done it, it's great. All the positive feedback that I've got, and everybody at uni, they all love it. They're like, when's your next post? When are you doing this? When are you doing that? But no, I think when people are younger and they don't really understand, um, they can be quite rude sometimes. But yeah.
Yeah. No, I think is a really good point, and it's great that you can sort of, again, it comes back to what Sandie says, you're in control of what you post now, and as long as you enjoy it and your audience are enjoying it, I think that's obviously the most important thing. I'd like to touch a little bit more on the process of setting boundaries, because I think that's a really important subject if you are considering a career in social media. Sandie, can you tell us a little bit more? I know when it comes to online safety and things like that, and we open ourselves up to, especially if you have a disability, it's like a whole other world of potential trolling sometimes. Are there any sort of experiences that you're happy to share with us?
I can talk about the one that I've shared with you previously.
Course,
is that okay with you? So I do think there are a lot of weird people in the world, but when you're disabled, there are even more odd people, and that's been my experience. It's 99.9% men, unfortunately, and because of my age, I'm an older woman, and certain group of men enjoy that as well for sexual reasons. And when you put the two things together, there's kind of this word called devotee. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's a kind of a name for a type of person who trying to think of words that are politically correct to use on this kind of platform, that really attaches themselves to a person and then will just obsess over that person. And there are groups of them, but there are tens, hundreds of thousands of them. So if you're going to do something, I know I do lingerie modeling as well as fashion modeling, but the way that they're attracted to me is clothes modeling, wasn't my lingerie stuff. So it's just a woman in a wheelchair. So if you're going to put yourself out there, you don't have to be what you think is in a sexual way. It's just, you could just be showing your feet, for example, or your body in clothes. It's just that you're on a screen and you can be objectified when you put yourself on social media. And I didn't know that those people existed, and it was a real shock to me, and it did really affect my mental health, and it made me feel incredibly vulnerable, scared that they would find out where I lived, because it was at a very extreme level where they flooded my account at tens of thousands, and I think at the highest point it was about 1,000 an hour at one point, and it was so scary. But now I know, and there are some measures you can put in place. So you can put certain settings in your messages so that you can field those things out. You can put certain keywords in so that they don't come up in your comments and also in your messages. But you cannot stop them from following you. If you have an open account, they can follow you, and you would have to go through manually and remove them, but you have limits on Instagram before it thinks that you're a robot, and it will block you from doing that. So, and it does harm your growth if you do that. So you have to be very, very careful. There doesn't seem to be enough help. If I'm really honest, there's not enough help from Meta. Meta owns Instagram and Facebook. There's not enough help and protection for the disabled or vulnerable communities from them to help us in this way, because there should be some form of protection that we could put a setting on, that we vet. If we're having problems, we should be able to put a setting on that we vet people before they come and follow us without having to go private, because you can't have a private account if you're making your living this way. So being aware that it could happen, if it happens to you, you have not done anything wrong. You haven't made yourself put yourself out there in a provocative way. Like I said, I was wearing dresses, full just ordinary dresses from high street. I wasn't wearing anything provocative, acting provocatively or anything. So it's not you, it's them. But it's just being aware that there are people that are strange. Make sure that you research. I'm very happy for anyone to contact me. You can contact me via my email is best, because my DMs are locked down so that you can't get to me very easily. But you can try. If you're already a follower of me, it will come through. But if you're not a follower, it doesn't come through. But if you want me to help you set your DMs, set your settings in Instagram. Very, very happy to help you, to make you feel safer. Happy to help anybody, but drop me an email. Happy.
That's fantastic, and I'm sure many people will appreciate that. And safety is probably the biggest thing when it comes to social media. Like we've said, there's so much positivity that comes from social media and opportunities. But we're realists, and we have to highlight that it can also be a very dangerous thing. Topical at the moment, Mr. Elon Musk, if you're listening, the fact that this whole verification thing, that you don't, anybody can be, buy your own verification now.
Yeah.
That verify button has always been there to sort of prove that that person is the genuine version of who you think you're speaking to. So, yeah, like you said, these big organizations, they have a lot to sort of step up and keep us safe, don't they?
Yes, yeah. Just remember that it's not you, it's them, and try not to let it put you off. Because there are ways to keep yourself safe. It's about having those boundaries. It's about thinking about how you present yourself within your boundaries. Talk to the audience that you are trying to reach, and just block those other people out. They will interpret your content however they choose to. You can't control how it's received. Just forget about them. They're not the people who you need to be worrying about.
And Maxwell, is that something that you're sort of concerned about, when it comes to how far to share? Like you've already mentioned, you've started sharing aspects of
Yeah.
personal elements of treatment. But I know whether you share like aspects of, you openly on your social media talk about your relationship, that you're in a relationship. Is that something that concerns you to share about in the future?
Um, I do share quite a lot of stuff like that. I don't really go into too much detail. It does kind of scare me to share into too much detail. Like I'll be sitting there with the post in my drafts, wondering if I should actually post it or not. Um, but no, it does worry me sometimes, and like some of the comments that I get, I don't really have, any like bad DMs or anything like that, but I do get, some silly people going, you're right, Hot Wheels or something like that, which I got quite a lot, but I just delete them and move on, and it's their problem, not mine. That's just how I view it.
Yeah, I think so. I think between you guys today, we've sort of raised some really important points. And similarly, as well, the comments that I've received, people often think if you've got a disability, they have a right of way to ask you really intrusive
Yeah,
questions.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
They
I am
do.
literally
Yes.
probably, was it, I don't know if it was yesterday or potentially the day before. Obviously, nothing to the level that you've had, Sandy. Luckily, my comments haven't been of a sexual nature or anything like that. But like, of this guy messaging me, and he was asking questions about disability, and at first you think, okay, I'm being friendly, I'm engaging in a
Yeah.
little bit of conversation, but then when it crosses a
Yeah,
level
yeah,
or a line, and then it's like, no, I'm not comfortable answering this level of personal question, or you're now asking for personal, really personal information, or like straight away you're like, well, I've got a disability as well, what's your number? And it's like, no.
I
It doesn't
I
work
get
like
I
that.
get a lot of that about like stuff like that about my relationship. They won't even know me, and they'll come up and ask like very personal questions about me and my girlfriend, and I'm like, you don't even know me. You should probably, talk a bit first before you start going into that much detail. And even then, I wouldn't share anyway. So it's quite, yeah,
Yeah, you're right. It's this whole this as soon as somebody that sees you disabled, they literally feel like they have a right to know the most intimate details of your life. And I don't know
mm,
why that is. I think it's partly this entire culture of they've grown up seeing intimacy, uh, across everything that we see to do with charities and stuff. I think it's possibly to do with that to get anything to do everything to do with disabled people, there's always here's
yeah,
their
Yeah,
story to go with it. So it's kind of twinned. But yeah,
no.
I don't like that either.
Let's sort of steer away from the negative stuff now. I think we've covered that enough. I
yeah,
think people know the territory that comes with it. Um, on a more positive note, um, there are so many benefits to a career in social media, and not just financially. I think that's something that obviously we can touch on because it's important. Sometimes people are scared. I'm not asking for bank account figures here or anything, but
yeah,
like, it can be a good little earner for people, and it really
Yeah.
can. And Sandy, I think it's coming to you because, like you said, you do this as your sort of full time career. Um, at what stage did
Mm-hmm.
you like sort of realize that actually financially this is really working for you, and how did you get to that point of um gaining your following, because you have a great following.
I think, well, I didn't really have any other options. I was trying to think about, okay, I need to get a job, I need to earn some money. And I had a chat with kind of a career coach, and she said, let's just like scrap everything else and let's just make you the business. And I said, really? She said, yeah, you're amazing. And I thought,
Mhm.
okay, let's do that then. And so it was partly that, and partly a couple of things. Like I don't know how this is going to come out, but I heard some people saying about they had a job and how many hours they were working and how much they were getting paid to do that job. And I just thought, I don't have the energy in me, or, I couldn't work that many hours. And I'd be heartbroken to think that at the end of that amount of hours, I'd have
Mm.
that amount of money when I know I could just do 2 posts and I could get that much money. And I know I've got to work really hard for it, but I can pace myself. I'm in control of it. And it's my expertise, because I've got a background in marketing, and I've got an illustration degree, and I've got a lifetime of creative expertise that's brought me to where I am now. And so it's not the way you calculate your fee is not based on an hourly rate. It's very, very different. So you are able to charge differently. It's a much more validating way of earning money, rather than just, I've worked X amount of hours and that's my hourly rate. Especially when it's manual labor, thinking of working in a supermarket or something, which for me would be absolute torture. I can't imagine anything worse. It would kill me. I think people that do that are so amazing to do that kind of job. I know that it's not as taxing in some ways, but for me, that would be incredibly difficult. So I think when you look at it, you have to start small, but you can scale it. If you're good at it, you might start out at charging £30 for a post, let's just say. If you've got a very small following, like I said, first of all, you have to start out with not charging anything. That's just the way of it. You just get you get the product in return. I will say, if anyone's listening and they just decide to kind of run with this idea, if you're gifted something, no one should be demanding any content in return. It's not industry practice. It's kind of illegal, not quite, but it's almost illegal for them to demand content in return. They can say that we would like content in return, but it's not. Yeah, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. So that's great. I mean, don't say no to that when you're starting out, because we all have to be taking photos of something, taking video of something. But I used to buy stuff, shoot it, and then send it back to the store. We all did that as well, because there wasn't any other way for me to get the content. So get your content, be creative. And then when you start out, you have to charge small amounts of money. And it's difficult because there's no set figure, because it depends on so much, not just on how many followers you've got, but on what's your engagement rate. And it can be very tricky. Again, I'm happy for anyone to email me if they want any help with any pricing stuff. But if you do well at it, you can earn, so much money from one post that other people might spend a month. They might spend a month working, and you just have to do one post.
It is a really sort of lucrative industry, I think, if you use it to your advantage. It really can.
Yes.
And you said some really great tips there, Sandie, for people. So that's really, really helpful. Maxwell, sort of similar to you, do you have, I'm going to use the word entrepreneur again, up and coming here, future star on our hands. Have you got any sort of top tips? Because you've sort of taken that leap as well. You've started your business. What top tips do you have for somebody who's thinking of joining this industry?
I would just say, do it and get out there. I mean, when I created mine because I saw all my friends doing all these, jobs and these extra things, and I didn't really have the money. I was, a student, and you just gotta get out there and do it. I created a website. I found, like, I love editing now. I didn't like editing before, but I kind of got into it. I got all of the software, and I found actually like quite a lot of different hobbies from it. And because I found all these hobbies from it, I now enjoy doing it. So yeah, that would be my advice. Just make the jump and do it.
Love that. I think for me personally as well, I think if that passion and that enjoyment isn't there, then you're in it for the wrong reason. I think something for me is I love that positive feedback. And we all want to it's nice to hear positive feedback. But especially when you're creating disability specific content, I've shared things before, and I've had sort of parents reach out to me, and they'll think if they've got young kids with a disability, and they've seen me driving an accessible speedboat, or they've seen me, abseiling down a wall, or whatever I do, any sort of challenge. And I like the fact that they can almost see that as potentially in their child's future. And again, that comes down to the stigmas of disability, of breaking down those negative stereotypes and actually show this is what we can do. We can still live a fulfilling life. We can still earn money, have fun. And I think for me, that's why I do what I do, because I love that, to be able to sort of almost inspire somebody else, particularly the younger ones. And I don't know if that's the same for you guys as well. Do you sort of feel I don't want to use the word position of power, but when you have a platform, you almost are seen in some sense as a role model to some. Is that something you can relate to, Sandie? Do you like that positive feedback?
I love getting messages from people who say, I saw you do XYZ and it really helped me go out in my wheelchair for the first time, or it really helped me wear a dress because I've just been wearing cover-up clothes because I've been hating my body, or feel confident in myself. I love it. It makes my day or my week. It's the whole reason I do what I do, because it's all about helping people. When I became sick and I lost myself, really, I was an empty vacuum hole of a person. I wanted to kind of rebuild myself and find a purpose that matters. And when I did, it was about, I'm here, I'm still here, and it needs to be because I want to turn my experiences to helping people. And it validates every day. This is why I'm doing it. I'm on the right track. But I wanted to add to what Maxwell said about just do it, because I think that is such a lovely sentiment, and it can hold us back so much when we think, but I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And, just start, even if it's starting badly, just start and go, this is my starting point because I'm going to build on this and I'm going to get better. Just post and I always say, I'm starting badly when I start something. I'm starting badly. Today is the day I'm starting badly. And it's my little thing I say, just so that I know I'm going to improve, but I can't improve if I don't start. So start badly, people. Start badly.
I like that. I like that a lot. And finally, guys, sort of closing statement from you each, really. Maxwell, if I come to you first, an opportunity to obviously promote your awareness page, and just sort of a closing statement in terms of disability, social media as a career.
So everyone can follow me on Instagram at Maxwell Knight, where I post, my life, how it's going, my journey, and really, I'd just say to anyone with a disability, it's okay to share it. I think the more people we can get with disabilities sharing their experiences, the more, especially for younger people, it's kind of normalized. That it is okay to be different and to have a disability, and all these people that didn't know I was hoisted and stuff like that, like a hoist is a very new thing for quite a lot of people outside of the disabled world. So yeah.
Brilliant. And Sandie, same to you. Sort of, where can people find you, and what sort of closing advice would you have?
They can find me on Instagram and YouTube on at the _search for silver linings. And also I've got Roll with Style UK, which is a new venture, which is fashion and style guidance for wheelchair users, which I'm super excited about. It's a new business venture. So yeah, do get onto that one. And just, my closing sort of wish is, stay safe, but go for it. Enjoy it. If it interests you in the slightest little bit, pull on that thread and get creative and see where it leads you, because don't have an end goal. Just pull on the thread and go and feel your way. Just see what happens, because as long as you're happy, just experiment and enjoy and see what happens, because it's made me really, really happy.
That's really, really important. Happiness, that's all we all want at the end of the day, isn't it? And just to sort of close myself as well, I think it's loved chatting with you guys today. You've really sort of given some great advice, and it's just getting the word out there that actually, if someone's out there struggling with employment, social media is a viable option. You can work it to your own advantage, and it's a really positive opportunity out there. So yeah, we really hope you've enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Maxwell and Sandie, for sort of chatting with me and sharing your stories. It is very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Goodbye.
You've been listening to the Living with SMA podcast. We hope you can join us again next time, but in the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. You can find out more on our website at smauk.org.uk.